Thanks for staying with us. It's time to go to the press and see what the new headlines are. Joining us to make sense of some of these headlines is Mr. Biodun Sowunmi, a public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome to the show, Mr. Sowunmi.
Good morning, viewers.
Okay, we are beginning with Daily Trust. I'm beginning with a small headline at the bottom of that front page of Daily Trust. Politicians, soldiers among Boko Haram informants. That is from Zulum. That is where I am starting today's off the press. So this is an accusation that the first citizen of Borno State, where the insurgents is giving, and he has it's supposed that he has all the information, the intelligence reports and all that, and he's accusing politicians and soldiers as being part of the informants of Boko Haram. So what picture does it paint of our security situation in Nigeria, in your own opinion?
Well, the optics look so bad. Of course, Zulum has not said what many had long suspected. You know, he actually hit the nail on the head. We all knew how Boko Haram started, and you know, when a governor was in office, how their leader was killed, and how some people were alleged to be sponsoring Boko Haram, you know, with impunity, and nothing has happened to them. And of course, we know about the radicalization program, whereby those who claim to have repented among the terrorists are again, you know, taken to a camp, you know, to get radicalized and then brought back into society, and some of them find their way into the Nigerian army. So therefore, Zulum is actually saying it as it is. So all these combined factors are not helping the security situation at all. And I don't agree with them on the issue of equipment, that Boko Haram seems to be better equipped, you know, technologically than the Nigerian military. I don't see that, and I don't see their numbers against the Nigerian military. It will never be in the majority. So since they have to recruit from within the country. But I agree with them also that some of the terrorists are actually not Nigerians. They're either ISWAP members in neighboring countries or people being sponsored, you know, to destabilize, you know, the northern part of Nigeria. Which is really, really very troublesome because it's also spreading to other states, not only in the Middle Belt, in the southeast, south, and southwest. So it's time the federal government, you know, wield the big hammer and go after the sponsors and those who are giving lifeline to Boko Haram.
Yeah, well, there was news. Well, I don't know how to say this and sound really nice. There was news a long time ago that some people in government, very sensitive positions in government, even now, were housing Boko Haram at that onset and all that. And we know these people, and if you think that these people should be gone after, do you think there will be progress made in that regard? Because some of them are opinion molders, policy makers, and so on, even in the present government. So don't you see this as one of the reasons why it is going to be very difficult to even go after these sponsors without really causing even more harm?
Yeah, it's part of the problem. I mean, we are living in a multi-party democracy where elections will happen every 4 years. And therefore, once it's 2 years, then we begin the trade-off for political advantage. So therefore, those who are highly supportive for Boko Haram, who many people know. We've had a president who as a candidate, once told us that baboons, the blood of baboons will flow. So, but what has happened? Nothing happened. He became the president, got away with it. We had situations where a serving minister, you know, agreed that those who are to obtain name they should go to them in the bush, you know, and then issued a national identification number, you know, and many of these people are suspected not to be Nigerians. So when you look at it, the role of politicians in this process is also a bit complex. is not helping the situation at all. And politics generally is also not helping the situation because whichever way you look at it, government seems to be hamstrung somehow in some areas, while at the same time, there's the issue of corruption. We saw what happened with Asuki Gate, that money meant for weapons for Nigerian soldiers were actually siphoned off, allegedly. So when you look at all these issues combined together, you see the role of politicians and also, see some other complex issues involved in it.
Well, okay. Now, let's still remain on Daily Trust. Shadow government court orders DSS to serve Utomi, begins hearing June 25. We talked about this with you the other time about this shadow government, and I still can't understand why it's such a threat to the present administration or DSS, because I can't even just say DSS because it has to be the present administration that does not want this shadow government. With the aim of this shadow government being spoken about by Utomi, being that it is going to proffer solutions or offer alternatives and all that, it doesn't sound to the ordinary man like a government that is going to, a parallel government, because that's what DSS is saying, that is likely to cause a breach of peace and all that. I don't know why it is such a big deal to DSS and the present administration.
Well, if you look at both arguments, there are pros and cons. On the part of Utomi, it's just about exchanging ideas and providing alternative solutions to national policies. On the face of it, looks so brilliant. Many Nigerians are doing that, including think tank established by different groups, calling it one think tank or the other. They're doing that already. So there's nothing new that he intends to do if you have to take it the way it has been presented to Nigerians. But on the part of the DSS, their own concern is probably creating this illusion of an alternative government to destabilize the present constitutional order. The argument is that there is no provision for shadow government in a presidential system. It's a feature of parliamentary system of government recognized not as part of presidential system of government, and any form of shadow government is aimed at weakening or undermining the federal government. That is their own point, and they have responsibility for national security. They don't want things to break down one way or the other. They have simply gone to court to ask for interpretation, of the action. They have not actually arrested Utomi or taken him to court or charged him for treason. But for me, I don't think there are serious issues in this. Honestly speaking, I will express my mind no matter who source is God. The Constitution guarantees that. So also Utomi and others can express their opinion. It's up to the people in power, to choose whether to buy the views expressed or not, or to look or to re-examine their own policies and see whether they can fine-tune it. So I don't see what is wrong with that, but DSS on their own part have their rights to be concerned and want the law to be explored with a view to ascertain whether shadow cabinet is part of the presidential system of government.
Okay, maybe it's just a matter of terminology, because like you said, what a lot of Nigerians are doing that. In Abuja, there's a school of policy, I can't remember the name right now, but there are so many, like you said, think tanks that have, yeah?
NIPS, National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies.
Yes, thank you very much. There are so many other people doing it, and so maybe it's a problem of terminology. He used the wrong terms, or the terms that were suspicious, and they are. But like you said, if it is just to interpret whether they can or cannot do what they have said they are going to do, then it is fine. Otherwise, I also am of the opinion that it shouldn't be such a big deal right now. Let's move to the Guardian newspaper. We are, okay, why I didn't yield to calls for resignation by JAMB registrar. A lot of people felt he should have resigned because of what happened. I thought it was extreme, calling for his resignation, even though in some other places people willingly resign when things like this happen. But I don't know if you are also of the opinion that because of the glitch that happened in JAM, the JAM registrar should have resigned.
Well, at times we have to be careful not to throw away the baby with the bathwater. We should not forget that not until Professor Ishaq Oloyede emerged as the JAM registrar, JAM was turning in, it was a drain on public purse. It was turning in zero revenue to the federal government. And the moment he became, the registrar, he embarked on several reforms, which changed the system from what used to be in operation to the extent that JAM is now returning billions. If I can recall, I think the last money that was returned to the federal government was 6 billion. So humongous amount of money. Yes, it's part of the process of trying to reform the system that led to calling in experts, Educare, that Educare should help look at the system because they need to work on it to ensure that they eliminate cheating and other problems being encountered on the way. But for some reason, due to some human errors, it led to technical glitches, eventually some embarrassment in Anambra State and, in the whole of Southeast and Lagos State. So, yes, that's bad enough. The paying costs to students, the inconveniences, the parents, the embarrassment, even to JAM itself, for me, is huge. So therefore, I don't see the need to throw away the baby with the bathwater. If you ask Oloyede to go now, we may end up returning back to the old system where the public purse, will not receive the billions which is receiving currently. After all, the money was going into some people's pockets in the past, and now is going into the purse of the federal government. So we need at times to, balance views, to ensure, yes, they have done something terribly wrong. Yes, he had openly apologized to the point of weeping publicly. He has been so remorseful. So, and he's willing to go back. They've studied what went through, and they're willing to fix it. I think finding solution is better than, asking for him to be fired, despite all the improvements he made to JAM.
Well, but I don't know if I will also be of the same sentiments, as I am regarding the JAM registrar. In this other report, Nigerians face heightened insecurity with over 2,000 prisoners at large. And if 2,000 prisoners are at large, I don't know, maybe this one, it will not be out of place for the Controller General of Prisons to resign, because how would 2,000 people be at large? How did they break out of prison in the first place? What is happening there in that sector? Every time we hear of prison break, and now 2,000 people, 2,000 supposed criminals are at large within our society. It's a very dicey situation, I must say.
Yeah, you're quite right. In the last 10 years, we've had about 3 or 4 prison outbreaks. I remembered clearly the Biodun prison outbreak. You remember the Kuje prison, and 2 others in the country. So it's worrisome that we could not even keep people behind bars, those who have been duly processed through the criminal justice system, only for them to end up, breaking the prison. In the case of Kuje 1, I remember clearly that there were serious allegations that the security was compromised to allow those prisoners to escape. There were serious allegations, made at that point in time, that it was deliberate as part of a deal, with Boko Haram insurgents. So whether that is true or not, it has not been tested in court. So I cannot absolutely say it is true. But that's in the air. Then you have other prison outbreaks. Some of them alluded to complicity with prison officers. The fact of the matter is, which seems very clear, is our prisons are overpopulated. while at the same time, we do not have enough prisons in Nigeria, where convictions and offenders are increasing on a daily basis. So we really need to look at the entire criminal justice system to see how to fix it. One of the measures may be looking at the Controller General of prisons currently, whether he has any plan to transform the Nigerian Correctional Service. If he has no such plan, then the earlier the president show him out of the door is the better for us. Because you can't continue with this present system where you have 2,000 prisoners on the run, and they're posing further risks to the public. The rate of reoffending is also increasing in Nigeria. So these are serious issues which needs to be addressed. And if the Controller General is not up to it, then he needs to go. If he has a plan to rescue the country, bearing in mind that he didn't create this problem, he also inherited, then so let it be. Let it put it into action and let the federal government fund it appropriately. Otherwise, there's no point in blaming the Controller General of Nigerian Correctional Services if funds are not allocated.
Well, but the unfortunate thing is that if 2,000 criminals are out there on the run at large, the people who are in those prisons who may be innocent will be more than the 2,000. And like you said, unless there's a revamp in the criminal justice system, there will be continue to be a problem, because some people who are congesting these prisons do not have any business being there in the first place, or at least for as long as they have been there. There are some people who are waiting trial for over 10 years, and they're still in the prison while criminals are roaming free. It's just unfortunate. But
it's unfortunate,
yeah,
because when you look at those on remand, due to the slow process of our justice system, there are quite a lot, thousands. Yeah. And then you have a second category, those on life, those who have been sentenced to death, which the governors are refusing to sign their death warrants. They are also populating, the prisons heavily. Yet, we are not building more prisons in the country. We need to build more if, crime is going up and if conviction rate is high. So we need to do that. So we cannot strictly just blame Keminanda, the Controller General. We need to look at it. Is there a plan, and is it being well funded? These are critical issues which need to be looked at by the Controller General of Correctional Services. The immigration did the same thing. Keminanda did the same thing. It was properly funded, and we've seen the results. So that's what we need to do with Nigerian Correctional Services also.
Ikeja, Lagos Island, and Lekki have been named as the places harboring the highest number of criminals, and it gets me worried. We used to say that criminals are harbored in the slums, but these are not slums. These are the highbrow areas. On the mainland is Ikeja, and on the island we have Lekki and Lagos Island. So what does that say about security in Lagos?
Well, we do not know the nature of the crime we refer to. For instance, if you talk about Yahoo crime, that's more prevalent in eyebrow area. If you talk about petty crimes, stealing and all that, is more common in the poorer neighborhoods. So we are nobody can be clearly or categorically be sure what the government refers to. But generally speaking, we should expect, social vices to go up, not only because of the economic situation in Lagos, in Nigeria, but because of the number of people streaming into Lagos. Many people who are coming into Lagos do not know where to reside. They do not have any relation to go to. You only need to go to Lekki and see the number of youths and old men, able-bodied men wandering the streets, and they all migrated into Lagos from different parts of the country. The same situation, go to Baga, under the bridge in the evening, you see the number of people who are sleeping there. They have no place, to go to, that's their home. So therefore, they are prone to attack people, opportunistically with a view to try and earn a living. So the problem of urban migration is what we are beginning to see in Lagos. So Lagos State government needs to continue or double its investment in the security, of Lagos State. Otherwise, there's no way you can stop people from coming in, and there's no way you can stop crime from happening. So it's prevention and detection that is in this matter.
Okay, let's go to Vanguard and take a final headline there. Now, compulsory voting bill won't save a broken democracy. That's according to senior lawyers. There's this bill about compulsory voting for Nigerians. You have to go, otherwise you spend, is it 6 months or so in jail, or 100,000 naira. So the same jails that we're talking about, congestion, are the ones that they want to take people who refuse to vote or who didn't see any need to vote to. So I don't know what you think generally about compelling Nigerians to go out and vote, compelling them, not encouraging them, but compelling them to vote. Otherwise, you are charged as a criminal, you go to jail, or you pay a fine, or both.
It is laughable. That tells you the quality of people we have representing us in the National Assembly. It is a laughable development, because how do you compel me to vote when, for instance, if I have lost faith within the system, and you're still going to compel me to vote for the same system that I've lost faith in? How do you do that? What happens to freedom of association, freedom of conscience, and freedom of expression, written in the Nigerian Constitution? I agree wholeheartedly with Femi Falana that it will end up becoming an illegal act. Any act of parliament, of National Assembly, that violates the fundamental rights of the Constitution, shown in the Constitution, will be deemed illegal by the court. I don't think it will go anywhere. Number two, it will cause massive problem, in terms of where do you get the facilities to put people? You are talking about a situation where you need to try, 10 million people who are not participating, or 20 million people. Where do you get the courts from? Where will you get the prisons from? So we need to be practical and not put up a showmanship, act with a view, to gain some public attention. And that's what I think they're doing in this case. You can't solve the problem of low turnout through that. What we need to do are the issue of IREP and beavers, which the young people have been complaining about. We need to look at how do we sort this out. We need to look at diaspora voting. How do we bring them in? These are principal issues to ensure that the votes of Nigerians will count, not this idea of wanting to jail people simply because they chose not to vote. It's their choice, and therefore it is the business of politicians and INEC to encourage people to vote. That's their business. It's not about jailing people.
Well, I think so too, because even the electoral system is so flawed that the people are shortchanged from the primaries, because it is the party that chooses the primaries, so the people don't get to have a say in it. So you could be presented with all the candidates that you don't even like, and then they're asking you that you must vote for one of them. I should have the right to say no, I'm not voting for any of them because of my conscience.
Yes, freedom of choice. Freedom of choice.
Yeah. It should happen that way. But, well, like you said, this shows the quality of people we have in the National Assembly. I do hope that our recruitment process will become so good that we only choose the right people to go and do what we have sent them there to do, and not just go there and represent themselves and talk for themselves and not the people that sent them there. But this is how far we can go, Mr. Sowunmi. Thank you. As always, you've been a very helpful part of this program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
And you too.
We've been talking to Mr. Biodun Sowunmi, a public affairs analyst, trying to make sense of some of the headlines that made it to the front pages of some of our national dailies this morning. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll go to something else, and it promises to be very wonderful. Just stay with us.